Hello and welcome to another episode of Shed Manufacturing. In the last episode, we got the Lincoln in the shed, up on jack stands, the doors off and the bench seats out. In this installment, we pull our 66 Continental even further apart, with the engine, transmission, windshield, and dashboard all coming out of the car. The first step we took to get the engine out was to lower the front of the Lincoln back down to the ground in order to get the nose as low as possible, because unfortunately the fenders and front sheet metal are not removable from the body, requiring the engine hoist to be at full extension the whole time in order to achieve the height and the reach to get our roughly 750-pound big block high enough to come out. Every single bolt holding the engine to the transmission was almost finger tight. I was both pleased and terrified at this, but I took the win for what it was anyway. For most engines, but specifically an all-iron big block, I'm a fan of lifting with chains over straps. Engines rarely have perfect hoist points, and straps are very easily cut if they contact anything sharp or abrasive, which is, unfortunately, most things in the engine bay. Luckily, with a combination of lifting, jiggling, and pleating, it came right out. After the fact, I looked up the weight and realized I had my hoist overloaded by about 250 pounds. Not the smartest, but it's done now. This is the first time I've had this car on the lift, and I'm certainly impressed with how rust-free the structure of it is. Obviously, there's a lot of cleaning, stripping, and resealing to go, but it's nice to have solid bones to work with. With the engine out of the way, the rest of the driveline was next, and while pulling the drive shaft, a few things Lincoln did in order to keep the trans tunnel low in the passenger compartment became apparent. Lincoln actually angled the engine and transmission so far down at the rear that a few odd things had to happen. One was that the intake manifold had to be angled to keep the carb level, and two, they had to use these compound universal joints. I admit, I was absolutely mesmerized by the movement of these, and so I wasted a little time messing with them. I used the trusty welding cart/table thing to set jack stands onto before I pulled the rest of the transmission mounts and chassis crossmember bolts. Then it was time to unplug the speedo drive I now had access to and cut an already trashed transmission line. Now I just press the big green button on the lift, and it's out. I decided when we started this project that we wouldn't be keeping any of the factory wiring, as it's all 50 years old and made of what looks like old-school trailer wire connectors. A lot's changed since the 60s. Wiring, connectors, and relays are just a few examples, so we have no reason to try and preserve any of this wiring or even keep it organized. With the engine bay stripped down as far as I could for the time being, I felt I couldn't put off pulling the dashboard any longer. It's a job I've been dreading since I started work. I suspect when the car was parked it had a leak around the windshield, because the A-post trim is completely rotten, along with a lot of the dashboard, and it caused the front floorboards to rot out as well. I knew this job was going to be largely me on my back getting showered in rust, and it didn't disappoint. I had around a sub 50% success rate, extracting the bolts and screws from under the dash. Either the heads would strip, the threads on the blind side would gall, they would shear the head, or twist the base material off. I have to say, this process was long and drained me physically and mentally. Halfway through pulling the dash, we decided to pull the glass out as it was already broken, and really in the way of the access to the forward screws and bolts holding the dash in. I was grateful the sealant had all but failed, as it made the process much easier without having to use MIG wire wrapped around screwdrivers. Before we really started wrestling the dash out, I was worried the process might be too destructive to the dash to get good measurements off of it. So I downloaded a 3D scanning app and went to town. Now we have a dimensionally accurate reference if we need to make one from scratch. I guess the future is now. A lot of wiggling, disconnecting, pulling, and a bit of cutting happened off camera, but here we are finally getting the dash out of the car. Thank you for watching. Stick around for more Lincoln content. I think metal work is next. Wish me luck.